Okay, guys, I am going to change things up just a little bit on this episode. So, I'm going to get off of the digital marketing topic and I'm going to talk to you about something that every small business needs to at least start taking a look at in terms of surviving in today's very competitive world. And that topic is called virtual assistant. So, I am going to interview a gentleman that's owns his own virtual assistant business, and he's going to enlighten us on how a virtual assistant team or just a virtual assistant in general can help your small business flourish in today's economy and today's marketplace. So, without further ado, episode 27 starts right now.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. What's the good word? This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Now, before I head to what topic I have in store for you all today, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. And I want to let you know that if you want to be a guest on our show, feel free to either give us a call at 888-416-7752 or simply send us an email at info@lbmsllc.com. Let us know that you want to be a guest. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we will put you on the schedule. Also, if there's a particular topic that you are struggling with, or you're out there getting things done with all of the suggestions that we give you from a digital marketing standpoint, and you're not getting the results that you are hoping for, also give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email, info@lbmsllc.com, and we will make sure that we make that a topic of in one of our episodes. Now, last housekeeping topic before we get to today's episode content. If you have been thinking about starting a podcast, that's where something like Buzzsprout can help you. Buzzsprout is by far the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. In fact, they have already helped over 100,000 people successfully launch and promote their podcasts. They will ensure that your podcast is distributed to every major podcasting platform like Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Not to mention, they will even provide a great-looking podcast website with awesome audio players that can easily be embedded into your own website. To start your own podcast and receive a $20 gift card from Amazon, follow the link in the show notes, and this will help Buzzsprout know that we sent you and will support the show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast. All right, everyone. Now that we got all of that information out of the way, I just wanted to now introduce to you our next guest. I did a little bit in the pre-intro, but I want to introduce something important in today's marketplace, to the point where if you're not thinking about this, you're probably going to be dying as a business, because this is where the industry is going, folks. This is the way small businesses, as all of you guys are small businesses, whoever listens to my podcast either own a small business or have recently started a small business or in some sort of business capacity. And you have to think about something like this. I actually used to do this 100% until I actually started getting staff members. Well, I'm talking about virtual assistants. And on the other side of this microphone, I have a gentleman by the name of Allan Emmett, who I would love to introduce you to. And I'm going to let him do most of his introduction. But this guy has a lot of credentials, as I said earlier in the pre intro, that I think you need to listen to him because he has the capacity of helping your businesses grow. So without further ado, Alan, can you say hello to my folks out here?
Hi, everybody. This is Alan Amit. I'm actually been in the virtual world for the last almost 20 years, and so basically been helping a lot of small businesses take it to the next level. So you're not pretty much a one-man show. So that's basically what I do.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what? Out of curiosity, Alan, what got you into the whole virtual assistant business?
The funny thing is that with the virtual assistant business, I used to own an e-commerce store. I sold books online. And the funny thing about that was I did everything myself. And then right when I was selling that company, a friend of mine says, "Why the heck are you doing it all by yourself? And there's a virtual
Hmm.
assistant." I said, "What are you talking about, a virtual assistant?" And so I did the research, and then I kind of wish that I had that before as well. And then it was a big help. And then when I opened another business, we went gung ho with the virtual assistant at that time. Um, did another e-commerce business, and that was actually it was a big help and saved a lot too in terms of overhead expenses.
Yeah, no, I understand. Hey, by the way, it's out of incidentally, the name of that person who told you, what do you mean virtual assistant? Who told you that? Was his name Frank? Because I was a naysayer myself. I, yeah, I had a hard time grasping that concept, and then I became a fan. So I get that. And it's a nerve wracking.
Right.
It is a nerve wracking idea if you are always in control. But I got to tell you something, for the people who, and I want people to listen and take notes about this, for the people who are already doing it, they're leaps and bounds ahead of the folks that are only doing it because of the pandemic. Let that sink in. Sometimes a great
That's right.
idea like this can really help you be in the forefront of things. So, I mean, I love the concept. So I'm glad you're here and you're able to educate folks here. He has a website that I'm going to put on the
Of
show
course.
notes. And there's also, if you think about using his services, there'll be a promo code. We'll talk about that a little later on the show. But let's get on to the content. I want to have people understand the importance of having something like this in case you're not doing it already. And what that is I want to ask you,
Hmm.
what are the common challenges for business owners face when working with a VA, like a team like yourself?
Sure. First of all, we have to understand that virtual assistants, what they do is they remove the most time-consuming admin task from your plate, right? So instead of doing it all by yourself, like I mentioned earlier, you have um, you have more time to close deals, explore business ventures, or even grow your startup, right? And not to mention spending more time with your family as well too. So the most common challenges, right? Like um, a business owner normally face is communications, number one, right? So establishing line of communication. So right now we have Zoom, we have Skype, and what I really love is WhatsApp. It's a phone that you could download on your phone, and then also you could use the web-based also WhatsApp. um, Easy to upload forms, pictures, recordings, things of that nature, right? um, One shot, and then they can download it. The next issue that or challenges that they normally face is productivity, right? the common issues that I've experienced with dealing with virtual assistants is basically the disappearing act. I call that disappearing act. So, if you're hiring people from the Philippines, for example, it's midnight or graveyard shift in their time, right? Even though it's regular time in the U.S., it's midnight. When it comes to 3 a.m. in the morning, they disappear, and why is that? They probably fell asleep in front of their desk or what have you, right? So I guess common issues that they face also is bad internet connection or the electricity is out. Um, but what I saw, the common thing or the common complaints that I get is basically from both sides is language barrier. So culturally different, right? We could say things, being Americans, right? We could say something differently where it's understood differently from the other end, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's the one thing. Like for example, the great thing. Actually, the best example I could give you is my son. We were at a family party. I said, "Hey, would you want to try some of these food that my sister-in-law made?" Right? And he goes, "Oh, that's disgusting," right? In our terms, it's okay, but here culturally in the Philippines, it was actually it was an insult. So we had
Right.
to
Right.
explain that to them, and right. So even that small aspect. Um, it means a big deal on the other side. So you got to understand that as well too. Now, for
Wow.
productivity, you have actually um, apps that you could use like Time Doctor, Hubstaff, Hive Desk, right? They all take screenshots as well too. So that's the one thing that you want to see as well is that what are they doing with their computer, right? But you got to keep something in mind though, that there is another issue facing that also, distraction from family members or friends, right?
Yeah.
Time Doctor Hub staff cannot see the time spent chatting on a mobile device or even chatting with somebody in the room.
Yeah.
So we had an instance where I had somebody doing an outbound call, calling for a client, uh, spent 10 minutes chatting with his wife, and they were arguing about what what was for dinner. That was just basically, I thought it was just very unproductive, and obviously we took care of that. But uh, those are the things that we try to capture, right? Those things that Time Doctor or Hub staff can't see. So
Right.
uh, the other, yeah, the other challenge I see is the time difference as well. Like I mentioned earlier, um, Philippine time or Asia or offshore plus the U.S. Totally different time zone. So you just got to understand that aspect as well too. Then the last, I had a couple of other things that I think it's the culture, company culture, right?
Yeah.
This is huge for me, right? When a VA or virtual assistant signs up with a client, you got to make sure you treat your VA well, right? So your company's culture shows the way you treat your VA. So and then it will show how your VA responds to your treatment as well. Treat them well, they will respond well, right? Um, so basically, obviously, there's guidelines and things like that. So we have and pay them well. What I mean by that is we had a couple of issues with clients where was unsatisfied with the VA. However, it was not in their scope of work, meaning the VA was hired as an admin assistant, but they were asked to do a website. Then the client decided not to pay. And I was like, wait, for a certain thing. So you got to make sure that what you hired them for is what you pay them for, right? And then
Yeah.
lastly, with this whole COVID-19 thing, there's a lot of clients right now that pays higher, and then most of the VAs gravitate to those employers. So
Right.
those are the things, those challenges that you guys got to be aware of once hiring a VA.
So, you said a couple of things here that I want to touch on. So, so basically, your business is located in the Philippines. I got that. So are most of your staff members also in the Philippines, or do you have staff members here in the
Mhm.
U.S.?
I have staff everywhere in the world. Basically, we have staff in Mexico, we have some in the US, we have some in Europe. We also have some in Australia as well too.
Oh, that's awesome. So, um, let me ask you this. So, yeah, what are the types of tasks that, I mean, because, you mentioned the misaligning of, this person that used to answer the phones is now doing a website and it was wrong. That happens
Right.
even
Oh,
here.
right.
That even happens here when a staff, I mean, there's a couple of, when I first got started in business, I used to, I would go after companies who I saw that didn't have a good social media presence. So I was like, hey, listen, I don't see you have a social media
Mhm.
presence. And the owner or the CEO would say, well, don't worry about it. My admin does that for me. And I'm like, your admin's not a social
Right.
media expert. What does she know about driving traffic? So it's the same thing. It happens even
Right.
outside
Exactly.
of the virtual world. So, what is your role, and I know it's hard to stop that, you don't know what's going on because you're not there all the time, but what do you do to mitigate that? I think my listeners would love to know that if they want to embark on something like this.
Oh, very good. So what we do, so we have account managers in place, right? That deals with the language barriers, that deals with the productivity and things like that, right? So it we're kind of like the middleman, so to speak, right? So client tells us or instructs both the VA and our account manager, and then our account manager is like a project manager, just oversees what that task is, right? um, then ask for clarity if there's any questions there, right? So from either the client side, also the VA side, before they get started. Because one thing I noticed, like a lot of, well, including myself, right? What really I hate is why didn't you ask me this question an hour ago when we first spoke, right? So basically, just
Mm.
hey, you got a question? Ask it right there. If it wasn't clear, don't wait an hour later because that's productivity time, right? So, so uh, we try to get all the questions out there, and then obviously there are questions that will arise during the time the task is being done. However, we just want to make sure that we dot our i's and cross our t's before we get started.
Okay, but what kind of tasks? Like, what do you? Is it sales calls? Is it answering phone calls only? Is it answering emails? Is it sales tracking, workflow management? What kind of tasks do you normally work with?
Sure. So there are some tasks that are outbound, so lead generation, calling for realtors, calling homeowners. You have small businesses that are also B2B type of calls, calling different companies and then introducing that company. That's one aspect. We have purely admin task as well too, where data entry is involved, or even content writing. Right? You mentioned about social media as well. We have graphic artists as well too. So it depends on the client's needs, basically what they need, and then we have to uh, put in the right person for that particular task.
Right.
So it could go from as simple as just even bookkeeping, right? Just sending us pictures of the receipts that they want to put in an Excel spreadsheet, and it could be as simple as that. Um, then the other thing is just data entry, right? So or even uploading leads onto CRM, or even inventory. The one thing that we deal with as well too is inventory. So those e-commerce businesses or even small businesses, right? They have a we just basically have to match their inventory to make sure, and then once they're low on a certain supply, we put in the order for them.
Right. Okay. One of the challenges that I went into, what you said a couple of things that made me think about this when in one of my challenges. As I said earlier, I started out with virtual assistants because it was just me, myself, and I running my business, and that's not efficient.
Right.
And that's when I found out about the virtual assistant thing. And one of the challenges I remember running into was, like training. It didn't seem like all of the virtual assistants were trained. They didn't like we didn't know. I at least because I was new to it because it was problems on both ends. I didn't know what I didn't know what I didn't know, and they didn't. I don't think they managed me properly. Like
Right.
they didn't educate me. So let's talk about training. Training your VA and training actually your new client. How do you handle that type of situation?
A very good question. So, first, what exactly do you want to outsource, right? So this is basically, in a nutshell, outsourcing, right? So what business process do you have that you want to put out there for us to help you with, right? Um, Whatever the time-consuming task that they want, that's what we try to learn, right? And then on the flip side, we get the VA to sit down and we train them from A to Z on what's happening with that process that the client wants. So and then what we do is we start an onboarding process with both sides, right? So they have a good understanding with each other. Um, that okay, this is what the client wants. This is what we're providing, right? And basically, the training has to come in and basically you also have to learn or know the type of person you're training, right? Um, so some people are more hands-on, some are they like to just read and then they just go for it. So we try to do both. So we do hands-on training, and we also we help that VA really understand the task and just deep dive into it, and then once that's done, they're ready to go.
Yeah. Another thing I ran into, and I was curious how you handle this, is so I was working when we finally got everything going perfect, um, and I got used to this one lady, and then she found another job, right? And so they had to switch her off to my account, and that person wasn't as efficient.
Uh-huh.
How do you handle that? Do you have processes in place to ensure that, irrespective of who is handling your account, is a smooth transition?
Very good. So we try to do a weekly checkup with every client, right? So our account manager, that's their responsibility. They sit with the client and ask, hey, what's going on? What do you like? What don't you like about this person, right? Um, and so we have that discussion, and if they like it, we keep them there, right? So but if there's certain issues, we take a look at those issues that they have. Is it adjustable, right? If not, then we will replace them. Um, to answer your question, basically, it's just um, what we do is we try to just make sure that the client is happy with that person, and just trying to make sure that that VA is also happy with the client as well too.
Yeah,
You
because
got to
it's
admit, some clients are very demanding. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's got to be both ways. Yeah, the client has to be happy, and of course
right,
your VA has to be happy because at the end of the day, that is your person that you have to manage, and you want them to be happy. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So that's good. I'm glad you said that. Okay,
exactly.
so yeah, so that's spinning a lot of these questions in my head. So I'm fried. Sorry that I seem like I'm just throwing out and firing off at you here, but I just want to make sure that my listeners understand the value that you bring. And so far, you've been bringing a lot of value. So I applaud you and for having this.
Thanks.
This is more than ever. The world needs this stuff right now. So I think this is
Right, exactly.
a timely episode here. So so we talked a lot about certain things, but let's go back to the beginning. Because we were talking about
Hmm.
onboarding. You're in there, so let's go to the beginning. Like, what are pitfalls that you want to avoid when you're hiring a virtual assistant, or maybe even an agency like yourself? What are the pitfalls that you want to avoid?
Sure. The what you want to avoid is hiring a VA for all the wrong reasons, right? So you hired a virtual assistant that actually does has tons of experience as an admin, bookkeeping, things like that. Then you ask them to do a website or a landing page, right?
Yeah,
And this common thing is, hey, you know what? Um, I'm paying this person, right? So they should do whatever I ask them to do, right? So no, it all boils down to skill set. So you're not you're not gonna get the same results basically if you um, you hire a VA who has tons of admin experience and then you have them do a website so that just the contrast is just totally different, right? On the flip side, hiring a website developer and having them do bookkeeping and things like that. So
yeah,
that's another issue also. Um, also, not writing a clear description for your virtual assistant, right? So we were talking earlier about um, just getting that training, right? So also the job description. What exactly do you want them to do, right? If you boil it down to that, um, if you actually just outline what you want, it's a lot easier for us or any VAs to actually get you what you need, as long as you know write a clear description, a job description, right? Then expecting too much from your VA, right? If you hired a bookkeeper and an accountant, don't expect them to um, build a CRM or or a mobile app for you, right?
yeah,
Likewise, with if you hired somebody who's doing outbound calling, don't expect them to start doing bookkeeping for you because their skill sets are different. Then not considering language barriers when hiring a VA. That's one thing that, in my experience, has been an issue. It's just they go to different websites, they hire these folks. It's just that language barrier, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? And they say yes, yes, I do, and then at the end of the day, you still didn't get what you want, right? So and things like that, and then
yeah,
you have to yeah, so you have to do that again, and so those are the things. And not considering language barriers. That's in my experience has been like the number two reasons why uh, there are pitfalls. Then not committing time to train your VAs, number one for me. Not training your VA properly, right? If you have a process that you created as an entrepreneur, you created a process that works for you, right? Now,
yeah,
then you hire a VA with all this experience, no matter how much experience you have, right? When this person actually starts working for you and you just leave them and say, hey, this is what you need to do, boom, all right, I expect this to be done in an hour, right? So the process may be different, and then you start wondering, scratching your head at the end of that hour is like, hey, why is this done incorrectly? Because you did not commit to spend time and train your VA correctly. So spending your time with that VA, training them on your process that you created to make you successful as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, or as a business owner in general. So
yeah,
committing to that. One analogy that I really love was one of my clients actually said, right, hey, I can't expect somebody who knows how to cook to go into McDonald's and fry burgers and fries, right? I was like, that just blew my mind, right? Like, yeah, you're right. You can't just go walk into McDonald's and say, hey, I'm gonna fry a Big Mac and things like that. There is a process to that, right? So you just can't just put it into fries and just call it a day, right? So there is a process to that and learning that system. So let them learn your system. Then give them a chance. I've seen it before where clients would hire 10 people, right?
mm-hmm.
10 people, and then expect them to do the task, give them minimal instruction, and then expect them to do the task, and then fire 9 people and keep one, right? Whoever,
Hmm.
that's not the way to go. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
like, spend your time. Or if they do train, um, there's no learning curve, right? So anybody who gets trained, there is a learning curve to that. So um, if you train them correctly, the learning curve minimizes. But
Yeah.
if and if you but you don't give them time to make that mistakes or even ask questions after that, and then you get rid of them, then there's a problem with that, right? So spend time, commit time. I'm not saying spend time, commit the time to train your VA properly,
Hmm.
and then give them that learning curve
Yeah.
to really get to perfect the process that you created.
So one thing that I'm hearing here, Alan, is that basically you have to, if you commit to this, you have to um, also commit to some time to make sure that it's the right fit for you. You shouldn't go in 1 month and then just say, "Ah, this isn't working for me," because obviously, like going back to your example of the McDonald's thing, obviously, just because this person is used to working with QuickBooks, let's say,
Hmm.
doesn't really know your business though. They know QuickBooks, but they don't know your business.
Right,
So you got to give them time to
right,
understand, how you do business. So I like that, because the misconception is that these people they're gonna go in and they're gonna solve all your problems instantly. And yes, they will solve your problems,
right.
but so the common thing I'm hearing is you got to give it time. So I know people have the question in their head, and you probably don't want me to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How much time do you
Sure.
recommend? How much time do you recommend? Is it 90 days? Is it 180 days? Is it 1 month? What is it?
Sure. To be quite honest with you, I just for me, it's a 3 month period, 90 days, right?
Okay.
Give them that time, 90 days. Try them out. I mean, you'll know from the get go whether they're not doing well or not, is a good fit or not. Uh, you'll know. But once you find that person that has that right? That hey, I think this person is gonna work out for me.
Yeah.
Then spend that time, that 90 days. Give them that 90 days. Um, but and trust me, in 2 months, in 60 days, you already know that you want to work with this person long term already.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think 90 days is a good time as well for you to know whether if in 90 days the person doesn't know your system or your process, by that time that person's not going to work out. So yeah, but definitely
Right. Absolutely.
30 days is not enough. I mean, come on, let's be honest. And
Yeah.
it also depends, I'm assuming,
I've
on
seen,
what
I
the tasks, right?
right. Right. It depends on the task as well too. So if
Hmm.
it's something very simple like even cold calling, a lot of people think that okay, so this person has 5, 10 years experience cold calling, right? Don't expect them to get your script or your style immediately. Even as simple as cold calling, a lot
That's
of
right.
I've seen a lot of clients is just hey, they hire this person today, they're fired the next day, hire
Yep.
somebody else the following day, and then fire them the next day. Like, give them a chance to learn your script because like that style that you have. Again, like I was saying earlier, your company's culture, right?
Yep.
It's your company's culture. If your culture is like that, then maybe a VA is not good for you, right? So maybe you need to hire somebody in your office, right? But
Right.
a VA, give them a chance to learn that learning curve is it's this the common thing that I see as an issue is just people expect immediate results. They expect immediate adaptability. That's the one thing. It's just all of a sudden, boom! Hey, I need this done. Should be done. It's depending on the process that you have. It's not even like creating a website or landing page, right? It's not that easy to do. So, and then you could go into the color patterns, right? you say blue, but you meant some other kind of blue, and there's sort of different variations of blue. So
Hmm.
so that's where I think personally that as an entrepreneur, you should also understand where they're coming from too, and understand that, hey, would if you hired this person in your office, would you treat them any differently,
Yeah.
right? So
I mean,
you'll
if
give
you,
them that time to learn.
yeah, if you think about it though, Alan, that's no different from my business. I mean, I'm in the marketing business, and there's no difference. You got to give me time. I'm very good at what I do. I've been doing marketing for over 13 years. I've had this business, and you know, I don't. Even if I deal with dentists or I deal with attorneys or whatever, the culture of each attorney, even if it's the same family law attorney, is different. So the messaging is going to be different. So
Right,
I have to understand your voice. I have to understand how you want to communicate with your potential client, because when they come in the door, it has to be um, it has to be it has to be consistent to what they saw online. So if they saw a message online and it's a soft message, and then when they met you, you're brash. It's a disconnect. They're gonna
mm,
be like, who is this person?
right,
So if you're brash, you got to be brash online. If you're soft, you got to be soft online, and that's the way that it works. But
right,
it takes time to understand that, and so I'm glad you said that about the VA system. So it's really no different. Um, okay, so I just have
right.
two more quick questions for you, and then I will open up the floor for you to say anything that you want to do in closing. But um, and this came up because of my experience in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm,
I went, and this was a huge mistake for me. I went all in, and I hired a full-time
mm-hmm,
VA. Right. Another mistake I
mm-hmm,
did was I didn't hire an agency. I hired a person.
mm-hmm,
I should have gone with an agency like yours, but hey, we live and learn, right?
mm-hmm.
But I went all in full time.
Right.
Do you recommend someone to go all in full time, or do you recommend dipping their toe in for, like, say, a part time deal?
Very good question. So, for me, I recommend hiring two VAs, right, on part-time basis. Um, reason for that is basically you could choose now. You got best of both worlds, right? So if you in an 8-hour day, one can start in the morning and the other one can start in the afternoon, right? And you're trying them out. Um, before you commit to them, you could actually see already who is going to work out for you, right? Either the communication, is there a communication gap with one person and not with the other? But with the other person that does not have the communication gap, do they understand the work that's being done? So who's doing the better job, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then at that time, after a few weeks or so, you could already tell who you want to keep, right? Who do you gravitate? Who do you get along with? Who do you click with that can actually get who understands where you're coming from? And then
Right.
that's when you decide to go full time. So, and then you could let the other one go, and then you could commit to full time, because a lot of people commit full time. They pay top dollars for them, and um, what happens is they end up regretting it, and then it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth, right? So, I don't want to hire
Yeah.
VA anymore. I don't want to hire anybody offshore. So, you know just be careful on how you want to do this, because if you go full time, you're committed to that person, right? You're going to commit to that person, and then um, again, if you don't have that training and you don't have that line of communication established, you're gonna run into those issues. But if you have two VAs working part time, you can pick and choose who you want to keep.
So, all right. So when you say part time, full, when you say that, you're saying you have two VAs, one working 4 hours, the other one working the other 4 hours, and they're doing the same
Mhm.
task. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you could do something like that, or like for example, we have folks that doing outbound, right? Um, so one person will be in the morning shift, and then the other one in the afternoon shift, and we could already tell who the client could already tell which one they like, right? But based on the recording and things like that, and
Right.
they listen to them like, oh, I like this other person's style compared to this other person, right? So um,
Hmm.
so hey, let's commit with this person, right? Same thing with any administrative task, right? If they give instructions, right, they send it via email. Do they need to do a follow up call for that email? Who's more responsive, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, if somebody emails me, I respond almost immediately, right? Um, and basically, you want to see that type of response as well too for any VA as well. So if they send me a message on WhatsApp, uh, you could see whether they seen that message or not, right? So, and
Yeah.
who could respond faster. So you could tell who you want. So you could pick and choose if you choose to do that, right? Some folks just like to do part-time VAs, but um, just for this week, and then hire another person the following week, and just choose that way. To me, I like to see both, and then at least you're not wasting a lot of time, right? So you're not spending like a week with this person and then a week another person, right? And then
Yeah.
you have to go back to that training again, right? So you train them both together at once, and then tell them what the schedules they have, and boom, that's it, and just let them go to work. And then, hey, if it's working out, hey, you like both of them, there you go. You actually have two shifts, right?
Okay.
You have two VAs already. So and also, to every entrepreneur's dream, right, is always to grow, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
scalability, right? So you could scale that way too. So if you like both of them and they're helping your business out tremendously, why not keep both?
Yeah. Of course. That was an interesting concept because when, I never thought of it that way. That's a good way of sizing it up. I like that because when I was doing VAs, um, I had two, but I had them
Mhm.
in a silo. So one was doing one task and the other one the other task. So it wasn't like a competition thing. But I like yours as you create kind of a competition. That's pretty slick. I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
But yeah, and to this day, I know I now have people who do stuff for me all the time, but I still, when I get overwhelmed, I still do VA. So I may, I still do VAs for certain tasks, like maybe for a 2 month project or a 3 month project, I'll have a VA offset some of the work that that my team is doing because they're just too busy. So I may look you up there, Alan, because I like what you're saying.
Yeah, that's yeah, thanks. And also that's the thing too. One thing that you just touched on right now, transparency, right? If you have a short-term project, let them know up front from the get-go, right? Hey, this is a 3 month project or 2 month project.
Yeah,
um, and that will actually also help a lot, because sometimes some people like commit to that company, and then all of a sudden, like in 2 months, they're out of a job, right?
yeah,
So you got to, yeah, you got to also be transparent in terms of that. I like what you said too, so that's awesome. So yeah, hopefully like a lot of your listeners would do that as well too. Just be honest. Hey, this is a 2 month project. I need all my receipts on an Excel spreadsheet. I have 5 boxes. I'm gonna take picture of them. I'm just gonna scan it or send it to you guys, and
hmm
uh, this is just like a 2 month thing. Things something like that. It's just let them know upfront that on the time frame of your project.
yeah. You got to do that. Hey, out of curiosity, let's see how we can help some of these listeners. I'm curious. What is your process? So how do we engage with you? Like, what's your process for onboarding? Let's say I come to you tomorrow. I say, hey, Alan, I need help with a email marketing project that I'm doing for a client of mine, and it's going to
Uh-huh.
be 6 months, whatever. What does that engagement process look like?
Sure. So basically, we will sit down with you and try to get to the end result, right? So what do you want to see at the end, right? And then we reverse engineer that. So end result that you want, and then we work backwards that way. So we're working on step 10, right? So if step 1 to step 10, right, and it's that step 10 is the end result, we're working backwards, and we're trying to figure out exactly how you want it, when you want it, and then all the little moving parts or little pieces, we just try to put it together. We try to reverse engineer what you want done.
And then you like what you look at your book of people that you have, and you start to align people
Sure.
to. And do we get a chance to
Correct.
pick out who, or you just say, hey, this is the perfect person for you, or is it you send us two and then we get to choose which one? How does that work?
Abs- Absolutely. So what we do is basically then we match you with the VA that we think will be suitable for the project that you have, right? So we bring in this person, like two or three people to interview with you,
Right.
and um, see how you like them, and basically if hey, you choose this person, then we're gonna go with that, and then we try to bring him also in the latter part of that process, right? Try and figure everything out already. So once we hire that VA, we're already they're involved already at a certain degree, right? They're involved with the planning stage of the project already,
Okay.
and then right when everything's all set, then we involve them in the training already. So actually, we're gonna start training them, and then we release the VA to you guys.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Um, all right. I mean, hey, that was my last question, but before we let you go, you have a special treat for my listeners. You said you want to give them a discount on something. Can you talk about that?
Sure, sure. You go to our website, equitytrackbpo.com. Um, there's a chat box right there, or send us an email or the web form basically, and just put in the promo code Frank Deming, and you will get 20% off of your monthly billing for for 6 months.
Wow,
So that's
that's
gonna help out a lot.
That's gonna help out a lot to vet and try this out. I if I were you guys, I would take him up on this offer. That's a very generous offer. Thanks, Alan. I think
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think this is the wave of the future. I've always loved the virtual thing. Once I learned what it was, and I think it's even more important now to get involved in the virtual game. So if you're not out there in the virtual game, folks, start thinking about it, because it's going to help streamline your business, and it's going to help you stay above of your competitor. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Like I said, my process, even though if I have a team, I still use VAs from time to time for projects. So it's a very important part of my business right now, and I would love to see a lot of my listeners actually introduce it to their business practice as well. So before I let you go, Alan, any parting words? Is there anything that you would like to share with the listeners? Is there any zinger, um, any guru statement as a VA owner that you would like to impart and tell them, why they should listen to you guys?
Sure, right. Like I mentioned earlier, basically a virtual assistant is there to remove the most time-consuming administrative task from your plate, right? Instead of trying to do everything all by yourself, there is help out there, especially for small business owners. Listen, you're not alone. You're not alone. There's people to help you out, right? Um, you want your business to grow, take it to the next level or something, let your VAs help you, but just make sure you commit time to train them on the process that you created.
Yep. And I totally agree. So that was awesome, Ellen. Thanks a lot. And I really, really hope that that at some point you can come back and we can continue conversing over this very important topic in the landscape of today's business world. If there's any changes, and maybe we can enlighten my listeners a little bit more. But until then, I
Absolutely.
really hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. I know it's late over there in the Philippines. I want to thank you for joining. And so I'm going to bid farewell to this episode. Until next week, guys, this has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you have just been informed by the great Allan Emmett. Until next week, take care and bye for now.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.